Hello, hello, hello. I'm Hojo.
And I'm Hunzi.
And welcome to this, the 43rd episode, Captain, of Hojo and Hunzi's Hard Rock House, the safe space for old rock gumbies just like us, where we're on a bit of a tight schedule today, Hunzi. We've left it too late to record, haven't we? And now we're going to have to rush through it to get through the almighty editing process in time for it to be live on Thursday.
Yeah, I normally start our pre-awareness social campaigns tomorrow, and normally I start that when I've got an edited version of the podcast.
You were too busy and I was too busy. You had to go to a garden centre is what you told me.
I did. I don't.
That is important shit.
It was very important. If I don't go to the garden centre, Mrs. Hunt won't allow me to do things that I like.
Softening the territory in the garden centre.
If I want to go and spend all afternoon watching rugby getting drunk, then I have to go to the garden centre in the morning.
Okay.
That's just the rules.
Rules is rules. So you have had a busy time of it. You had to go and watch rugby. You had to go to a garden centre. And then you had to watch endless footage of the M3 festival, which you've just been telling me about before we came on air. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing today. Didn't actually do any work. I went down.
You pretended you were working and ended up watching a load of footage on YouTube.
Yeah, well, someone sent me a text saying, have you seen Dave Lee Roth's performance at M3 Festival?
Yeah. What does M3 stand for? Do you know?
I don't know.
It would be good if it was in the UK, wouldn't it? Because it would just be like the motorway that goes to Southampton.
Yeah.
A festival celebrating a motorway that goes to Southampton.
Yeah, and all the bands could play at all the different service stations on the M3. Yeah. That solves the time of the whole changeover.
And also, it's like a really, really low-rent version of a cruise, isn't it? You don't leave dry land, you just move from service station to service station.
Yeah, Junction 1 probably would be the starting point where you'd watch the opening band, right?
Yeah.
And you can make a decision to watch them to the end or not, or you could just then whiz down to Junction 2 and carry on. But by the time you get to the junctions, the next band's about to come on.
Mind you, each junction doesn't have a motorway services though, does it?
Ah, true.
Clackett Lane or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Well, I wonder who would play Clackett Lane.
Full Metal Clackett.
So once someone said you watch Roth, I watched Roth, and then I found myself just going down an absolute rabbit hole. It's taken place just this weekend gone, and the headliners were Stephen Pearcy and Warren DeMartini from Rat.
So Stephen Pearcy and Warren DeMartini in the same group, and it's called Rat?
No, they're called Pearcy and DeMartini.
Oh, that's interesting. Why can't they be called Roth'S? Is it because Bobby Blotzer has got the rights? He took them to court. There was a court case over it, wasn't there?
There's always a court case.
Imagine scrabbling over the name Rat.
I know.
Mind you, they were multi-platinum, so I suppose it's worth something, isn't it?
There used to be a Rat tribute band kicking around in East London many, many, many years ago. They played at the Walthamstow Standard, where a lot of the tribute/cover bands used to play. Do you know what they were called?
Mouse?
They were. But this is the best bit. But because obviously Rat had two T's, they had two S's, so they were actually Moose.
Well, it's another animal, I suppose, isn't it, a moose?
It is. If you put the two S's in, does that make it moose as in another animal or moose as in a sort of dessert?
Chocolate mousse, I think. Really.
Yeah, chocolate mousse.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's the AOR version. Chocolate mousse. Somebody would love to be in an AOR band called Chocolate Mousse, wouldn't they?
Yeah, or creme brulee.
Did I ever tell you what my imaginary AOR band was going to be called if I ever had one?
No.
Primp.
Ooh. I can almost see the logo because it's sort of bookended by two P's.
Yeah.
With some clever design and typography, you might be able to do that whole angel flip. Can you get?
Yeah, that'd be good. Do you think you could get AI to have a go at a logo for Primp? Because you know, like you did with that foreigner sleeve that never was.
I reckon I could, yeah.
Imagine a logo for Primp. Have to be pink, though, wouldn't it? Have to be a pink logo.
Pink and satin blue.
Yeah.
I'll have a go at that. Back to M3.
Yes.
So Pearcy and DeMartini were the headliners, and other bands on the same day were Ace Frehley, Warrant, Great White.
Did you see any Ace Frehley?
I didn't get round to watching it. I've ended up watching the whole of the Rat show.
That's good. Just before we get on to the whole of the Moose show, I remember the lovely Mrs. Johnson once saw Kiss in concert because she wanted to see Gene Fly. That was her big thing. She didn't like the music, but she wanted to see Gene Fly. And it was one of those when Ace came back. So I don't know what year it was. He was on one tour.
Mid to late 90s, probably.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And she came back and she saw Gene Fly and she was very happy about that. But she said, she was worried about Ace Frehley because, he had the big old moon boots that he wore.
Yeah.
And he said, I wondered whether he was nailed to the stage because he didn't move his legs for the whole show. He just swayed back and forth. And she wondered whether someone had nailed his boots to the stage so he wouldn't fall over.
I heard a similar story this week. Actually, someone told me about when UFO was supporting Rush back in the day.
Yeah.
Rush used to have carpet on stage.
Right, okay, yeah. Very mystical, psychedelic.
Yeah, and obviously UFO being the pranksters that they were, particularly Moggan Way, they used to go on stage before Rush came on, and they nailed a pair of slippers in front of Geddy's microphone.
It's good. Phil Mogg used to be a carpet fitter.
Did he?
Yeah, he genuinely did. That's where probably the skills for nailing the slippers came from.
How did we get onto that? Oh yeah, Ace Frehley. He was playing, Warrant were playing, Great White, Lita Ford, Vixen, Spread Eagle, and another band called Sound Check Rock. So
they don't deserve to be on the bill, do they?
No, that was the Sunday. The Saturday was Dave Lee Roth headlining, Accept, Winger, Slaughter, Stephen Adler, and we'll come on to that, Child's Play, and some other bands. It looks like Sound Check Rock play every day, so they must be just the guys who do the sound check and play a bit of a...
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, that's nice.
The Friday was headlined by Sebastian Bach.
Right.
So yeah, I went down the PSC DeMartini rabbit hole.
And you watched the whole show?
I watched the whole show, yeah. They just did all Rat songs, obviously.
Did you love it?
DeMartini, and he's still brilliant. He looks good because he hasn't gone down the same path as everybody else where he's trying to hang on to his kind
What does he look like? Short hair?
Nah, it's medium length hair, pair of jeans, t-shirt. PSC comes out in this full-on Diamante covered leather jacket.
Does his hair still go over his eye? The rock version of Phil Oakey.
No, he doesn't do that. It's still long, though.
I did see a picture of him, actually, the other day, and he looks very, very old. Under the dressing up box stuff, his skin looks very old.
Yeah, it's almost leathered.
Yeah, he spent too much time in California, didn't he? It looks like.
Weather thrashed, I believe, is the phrase.
Like the man who did my roof.
Yes. So, DeMartini, unbelievable playing. PSC's vocals, not so good. And I know it's only on YouTube, and I know it's a fool, but...
Still not happening.
It's still all right. We're not talking about Vince Neil here. Oh, there you go. Okay. There's the Motley Crue. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. It's
already mentioned.
Yeah. How are we going to get Tring stuffed animal music?
Yeah.
And
bus routes.
Have a think. But yeah, he struggles on a few of the high notes. But generally, it was all right, but it was all about DeMartini for me. It was brilliant watching him play those songs. Some of the riffs on those songs, just brilliant. So, yeah, that was good. But Dave Lee Roth.
2 minutes on Dave, come on.
He's got a new hairpiece.
Is it a hairpiece? It looked to me like he'd just grown it out a little bit at the back. When you get the widow's peak, you boof it up a bit to make yourself look a bit like a 70-year-old Elvis.
I don't know whether it's a hairpiece or whether he's just had the technology that they do to regrow your hair. I don't know whether he's done that. But the hair's there. But the outfit, it was almost like, remember Elvis's 68 comeback?
Yeah, well, there you go. See, mentioning of Elvis, it makes you wonder whether he did model his look on that 68 comeback show, doesn't it? Except when he came back in 68, Elvis, he was about 30.
Yeah.
And Dave was about 70.
Yeah, and he should have checked the mirror before he went on about the nether regions of his trousers.
Why is that then?
You could see what was going on behind the
had he put a sock down there or not?
Well, that's the problem. He hadn't.
Okay.
He hadn't.
So there was an outline, but the form was diminished.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Dear.
I mean, it happens to all of us, right?
Does it? I don't know. What happens? What, your penis gets smaller as you get older?
Apparently.
Really? This is terrible news. I can't go on. Oh, God. As if the indignities of ageing aren't great enough.
But he's got a great band with him. Guitarist was amazing.
Anyone we know?
I don't think so. There's nobody I recognise. But he's the guy on guitar. Obviously, he just did Van Halen stuff. But
him on guitar?
Him on guitar was really good.
Right.
Roth's vocals,
twas ever thus.
He was a bit incoherent, didn't know the words.
Oh, really? Don't they usually just have the old iPad nailed to the stage?
I don't know whether he was just lost in the moment, but he was doing this, just goes off on a tangent and starts wittering. But when you're wittering, when you're meant to be singing Unchained, it's not that good.
Okay, right, yeah.
But I tell you what, after going down the rabbit hole and watching stuff, Stephen Adler's band, fucking hell. Brilliant.
Oh, they're good, were they, yeah?
Fucking brilliant. I just watched a couple of songs, which were both Guns N' Roses songs.
Yeah.
Better than the current Guns N' Roses, what I've seen.
Ooh, controversial.
Singer.
Who is it?
Again, don't know who he is.
Him on vocals.
Him on vocals, but he's got the black hair and he's got the Mark Ferrari from Keel / Joe Perry from Aerosmith blonde, like someone spilled a tin of
I had that in my hair once. Trying to look like Joe Perry, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
He hasn't got a streak. It's like someone's tipped the small tin of paint over the top of his head.
Interesting. But at least he doesn't look like Benny Hill.
No, he doesn't look like Benny Hill.
So, that's a plus, isn't it?
And he can fucking sing. Go and check out Stephen Adler's band. Really good. I was really impressed with that.
Who the hell thought that would have been a comment on today's pod?
Exactly. There you go.
Stephen Adler's band, really good.
Yeah.
Next thing you'll be telling me they don't take drugs.
Sebastian Bach, he was all right. Yeah, I've seen him worse on YouTube clips recently. Notable mention for Accept. Opened up with Fast as a Shark. What more can you want? So.
Well, what I'd like is Udo Dirkschneider. Never got to grips with the new fella.
And then the last clip I watched before we came on air was Winger doing Miles Away. And I was like, oh no.
You didn't like that?
Oh no. It was miles off key. That's where it was.
Really? Wow, because everyone always says what a good singer he is.
Could be a phone issue, but again...
We're going to be generous and say it's a phone issue.
Yeah, but that's what I've been doing today.
Wow, very exciting.
I've been watching the M3 Festival.
If any of your employers are listening, this is all made up just for the good of the podcast, isn't it? And you've actually been working very, very hard on some very boring work.
I wouldn't say any of my work's boring.
Sorry, very, very hard on interesting work.
Yeah, I'll be
just
doing that.
Just in case they think that they're paying you to watch Rat.
You got to get paid for what I do, not for when I turn up.
Okay, well, you're not getting paid for what you do on this. So
no, we're not.
Let's move swiftly along to what album have you been listening to today, Hunzi?
None of the albums by any of the artists that I've just mentioned.
Okay, right.
Yeah. I've gone back. I listened to it this morning when I took the dogs out. It just reminded me of how good it was. It reminded me of a moment in time, which I think albums should basically remind you of a moment in time.
I think if they don't, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, and this particular one reminded me of my last couple of years at university, just purely simply because I saw this band so often during that period. They seem to be playing all the time in the UK.
Was that a period of drink, drugs and excessive behaviour?
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit.
More than a bit.
Okay, well, that's a good memory to have.
I just remember vividly their gigs were just fucking brilliant, and that continued after.
So they're an English band?
No, American.
Oh, really? And you saw them a lot, even though they were American?
It probably wasn't as much as I thought it was, but it seemed to be that they were playing at Leeds University Hall. It's like, oh, they're back again. Oh, they're back again.
And who was it?
Faith No More.
You're not going to believe this. Okay, what album have you chosen, Hunzi?
Why are you laughing?
Carry on and all will be revealed.
Okay, I've been listening to their third album, which obviously was their breakthrough album, The Real Thing.
Okay, this is good. So you were listening to The Real Thing.
Yes.
Which, as you say, it did seem like they were around all the time, and I think I know why. It was because they were spearheading, for want of a better term, the rise in alternative rock, weren't they?
They were.
And America wasn't really ready to accept anything that was going outside of what you might call the hair metal, sleaze metal box. It took a while. And I think what a lot of those bands did was they broke in the UK first and then went back to America when they'd already established a bit of reputation and got some press and all the rest of it.
Like the Chili Peppers. I remember seeing...
exactly. Same thing.
I remember seeing the Chili Peppers at Leeds University. I think they were touring Mother's Milk. They seem to be playing all the time.
I'm the same as you. I seem to remember Faith No More playing everywhere all the time.
Especially with Chuck Mosley singer.
Chuck Mosley, I never saw him with him.
They played Leeds all the time. I remember
with him?
Prior to Patton coming in. But then when Patton came in and they were touring this record, I thought they must have done 2 or 3 UK tours during that year of 1989.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot. This was a kind of a coagulation of 2 different scenes because this never happened.
A what?
Look, get your dictionary out.
None of our listeners know what a coagulation
Single digit listener, go and get the dictionary, work out what coagulating means. And it meant that a band that was adopted by the metal press, Faith No More, also had a lot of clout in what was called the alternative scene in the UK. And the alternative scene in the UK was where people used to get a kit bag and then hitchhike along the motorway. No festivals at services in those days. And camp outside the venues and sleep on train stations and all that to show their loyalty to the bands. And my girlfriend's younger brother, Craig, was one of those people who used to be a kit bag guy on the road watching bands, and Faith No More, one of those bands that he would go and watch. So there was a kind of a cultural shift there where rock, metal fans and alternative fans started liking the same bands, and Faith No More always seemed like one of the very first of those.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't your band used to have kit bag followers?
Yeah, Dawn After Dark had kit bag followers. We had people traipsing around the country seeing us. Yeah, one of my greatest achievements, I think. Yeah. Apart from the gold records and the Grammys.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yeah. I don't like to talk about them.
Yeah, so Faith No More.
So The Real Thing's the third album. It was the first one after Chuck Mosley. sadly deceased.
Is he?
Yeah, sadly deceased.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah. Was replaced by Mike Patton. And that was the big game changer because Mike Patton came in and he had an unbelievably good voice, didn't he?
Incredible.
He was only 19 at the time.
Yeah, and amazing stage presence.
Yeah.
He was brilliant to watch on
mad.
stage. Absolutely bonkers. You couldn't take your eyes off him.
And also, he had a healthy or an unhealthy, depending on your point of view, appreciation or non-appreciation of the old style rockers. I read something the other day where it caused a bit of a hoo-ha because on stage in Italy, they were supporting Poison, some festival, I presume, can't be on a show with Poison, surely. And apparently, from the stage, he said, which member of Poison can suck his own cock? Which I think didn't ingratiate him to the members of Poison. Though, in some ways, hey, why would you be so upset?
Especially if your answer was yes.
Exactly, that's what I mean. You know, maybe well, I wouldn't be upset, but not that I've tried. But
yeah, well, judging on that David A. Roth performance, I don't think he can do
it. So he said that, and then at another show, apparently he said, which band on the bill today do you think it takes the most drugs? My money's on Aerosmith. I don't think he ingratiated himself to the kings of metal.
He probably didn't want to.
And he was brilliant. I loved him.
If you listen to this album, it is so far removed from 1989. So it's I wouldn't say it's the dying embers of hair metal, but
kind of is.
The flame is not burning.
The flame is not burning as brightly, is it?
Exactly. So he's kind of entitled to it. I remember hearing From Out of Nowhere, right? That first track, and you just go, fucking hell, this is brilliant. This is different. Epic came out, and Epic was the big one. That was the one that got picked up by MTV.
And that's where you start seeing that rap starts to have a little bit of influence on what's going on with rock music.
Exactly. It is a very diverse record because it's got the sort of hip-hoppy rap stuff as well, but then there's a cover of War Pigs on there, which is
Has it got Woodpecker
brilliant.
from Mars on that album?
Yes, that's instrumental. I was listening to it downstairs just before we were recording, and Mrs. Hunt came in from the garden and went, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that's obviously an incentive to go, it's fucking Woodpecker from Mars, you heathen.
Don't you know? Like, she quite likes Epic, though. But yeah.
I bet she liked Easy Like Sunday Morning. I know that wasn't on that album, but they used to do it live all the time, didn't they?
They
Remember?
did.
The Commodores song.
They were just brilliant to watch live. I've got a few albums that they've done since then. They've consistently made pretty good records.
Never got any better than the real thing, though, did it? I think you'd be hard pushed to say
Angel
Dust, you know, had its moments, but not really up there.
This is when they hit their peak, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody recognised that music was changing, rock was changing, and these fellas understood it. And it was weird because the other thing that I thought at the time was that anything in rock that had had keyboards before tended to mean it was a bit softy, didn't it?
Wimpy.
Yeah, a bit wimpy, bit Bon Jovi, bit Winger, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Roddy Bottum, the magnificently named Roddy Bottum, came up with his keyboards in Faith No More. And that was a whole different ballgame, wasn't it?
Yeah, the use of the keyboard in this album is just
really
brilliant.
Great.
It's a brilliant, brilliant record. If you don't know it, what you've been doing. If you do know it, go back and listen to it. I know we say this a lot because it's still stand up today. This one unequivocally does. Absolutely.
Great choice.
Thank you. What have you been listening to?
Well, I've been listening to an album from 1989.
Same year as mine.
Yeah, third album.
Same as mine.
Yeah, from a band who were American but were playing in England all the time. You're not going to believe this, Hunzi.
You've been listening to The Real Thing by
It was my choice as well. I've done all my homework, all my prep. Going to talk about it. And you beat me to the punch. Well, that's great though, because we said we had to keep it short today, so that works out perfectly. We can wrap this up in about 3 minutes and it'll all be good.
I know we say this so many times. We never tell each other what we've been listening.
Never. And it's the first time that's happened. A motorway crash.
Yeah, on the M3.
A head-on crash on the M3.
The M3.
Yeah, I genuinely was listening to The Real Thing and I'll go, I'd forgotten how great this record was. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about it. And now I have.
Okay, my memories were very much university. I didn't get a kit bag and all that sort of stuff. But
no, because I was well out of university by then.
What was the Kerrang vibe?
Oh, Kerrang was very enthusiastic about Faith No More.
Yeah.
There was no issue about, this is a bit weirdo alternative stuff. No, embraced. And the funny story is You know Neil Perry, former Sounds journalist Neil Perry.
I do, lives in Norway.
Yeah, lives in Norway. He was a big fan of that crossover alternative stuff moving into metal. So he was really into Faith No More, and he used to work for Sounds at the time and did a lot of stories about them. But the first time he interviewed them, he had to meet them somewhere. And I can't remember how the story got back to me, but it was brilliant. Do you remember Big, Sick, Ugly Jim Martin, who was the guitar player? He was apparently on the phone to someone, knowing that he had to go and meet Neil Perry somewhere. And he asked how he would recognise him. And apparently the PR or whoever was giving the instructions said, you can't miss him. He's got long, greasy hair and he walks with his chest puffed out, which is a good description of Neil as well.
Yeah, it is.
And apparently Big Jim Martin went, yeah, I got it. Greasy Chester.
Greasy Chester.
So Neil Perry's nickname forevermore has been Greasy Chester because Big, Sick, Ugly Jim Martin called him Greasy Chester when he had to remember how he was going to recognise the man he was sent to interview.
I've always wanted to know why Neil was known as Greasy Chester.
Oh, you knew that was his nickname, but you didn't know
but
why.
I didn't know why. I didn't know.
Oh, well, now you know. That's why he was called that.
All right, because we do a little bit of a heavy metal quiz every now and then online.
And people call him Greasy Chester.
Yeah, well, he does a little section on the quiz called Greasy Chester's World of Thrash.
Well, there you go.
Because obviously he's a huge thrash fan.
Well, now you know where that comes from. Have you never been intrigued enough to ask why he was known as Greasy Chester?
In all honesty, no. And the thing is,
I
spent an entire day with him 2023 in France at the Rugby World Cup. I didn't ask him, but I do know now.
Once again, the podcast that delights in being informative.
So, unbelievably, we've both been listening to the same album. I wonder if that will ever happen again.
Because we don't plan it, it might happen again, but I think the odds are small. The odds of winning the lottery are bigger than that, surely.
Yeah. Great that we've both chosen an album that we both love.
No verbal fistfights over, why have you chosen that then?
Yeah.
We're in agreement. We're in harmony. Well, there you go, my friend. We've wrapped things up. A bombshell of an episode whereby there was a reggae sound clash.
It makes my content opportunities much less, though, because...
Well, I don't know. How many people have we talked about today? We've talked about 20 bands because of the M3 festival. So,
oh, yeah, true.
And if you're running out of things to put a picture of, just put a picture of a motorway up.
Yeah. I could just put a picture of all the motorway service stations.
Yeah, that would be good. Clackett Lane. Get a picture of Clackett Lane services and put it up there.
Yeah. Well, there you go. If Faith No More were playing our M3 Motorway Festival...
They'd be on the Clackett Lane stage.
Yeah, but the problem is we'll have double booked them.
With who?
Themselves. For
I see what you mean. Yes, exactly. They'll be double booked. They'll have to do 2 sets at once.
Which I wouldn't mind.
Well... Okay. A lot of fun, and well done for choosing the same album as me. Let's see if we can synchronise our watches in the same way next week.
Yeah, happy editing, which won't be much this week, will it?
Well, thank God. See you next week.
See you later. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.